Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TCCrew here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 9 of What If Izuku Had a Perfect Combination Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. Upon hearing why he's being brought to the hospital, Izuku stopped in his tracks, staring at Sukawuchi with a look of disbelief and shock on his face, unable to even think of a response. After a brief pause, Sukawuchi ushers Midoriya into a waiting police car where they then drive off towards the hospital that All Might is being kept at. During the drive, Sukawuchi tries to console Izuku the best he can, though it doesn't do much. Other than that, the detective uses the rest of the drive to conduct the interview by asking Ryu about the incident at the USJ and multiple follow-up questions, which Izuku nervously answers. As they near the hospital, Sukawuchi ends the interview by closing his notepad and stated, "Alright, that should be it. Hopefully all these questions don't worry you too much, but it's standard procedure to figure out if anyone is an accomplice or not to a crime. Though, if it makes you feel any better, I highly doubt you were one to begin with." Sukawuchi gives a reassuring smile, but Izuku, still feeling conflicted, replies, "Yeah, thanks for saying that, though I don't blame you if you did suspect me of working with those villains. I bet there are plenty who already do." Izuku, still trying to work through the anguish in his mind, looking out the window upon saying this. Sukawuchi, not wanting to make Midoriya feel worse, takes a brief second to think of how to respond before answering. "I suppose it's more that they didn't fully understand how the incident happened. Whenever any kind of accidental injury occurs in the line of hero work, it's necessary to just be sure of the facts and let people assure you that this was an accident that could happen to anyone with inexperience like yourself." Izuku nods his head in acknowledgement as he continues to stare out of the window of the moving car with a blank look on his face, ultimately remaining silent until they arrive at the hospital. When the vehicle pulls up over to a side entrance of the hospital and stops, Sukawuchi steps out of the vehicle along with Ryu, who both then enter the building quickly as they are led to the exterior of All Might's intense care room, where 3 individuals are already standing outside waiting to enter. Upon their arrival, the 3 strangers stop their conversation, turning to Izuku and Sukawuchi out of curiosity, where for a moment a silent staring contest goes back and forth between them, which Ryu tries to avoid. After this short period, Izuku glances up quickly at the individual standing before him, which is when he recognized one of them as All Might's former sidekick, Sir Night-Eye, instantly causing him to jump back in astonishment. Noticing Midoriya's reaction, Night-Eye spares no time in responding with an irritated tone. "Ah, so you finally noticed who I am. To be frank, I was starting to think you'd never look away from the floor. But considering what you did to All Might, it's only right you feel such shame." The aggravated pro pushes glasses up, sending a glare at Izuku when a short old man in a hero costume pipes up with a scolding tone directed at Night-Eye.
"Hush now, Sasaki. The last thing he needs is for you to insult him throughout this visit. It will already be hard enough for all of us without your extra trauma making it worse, which I doubt Toshinori would want in his final moments."
Night-Eye scoffs at this and turns away in frustration. At that moment, a blonde-haired person wearing a UA uniform walks over to a confused Izuku and enthusiastically shakes his hand, saying, "Hi there, I'm Mirio Togeda. I go to UA just like you. Sorry about Sir, he's normally not in such a bad mood, so allow me to greet you on his behalf." This takes Ryu by surprise, causing him even more confusion as he stumbles to respond, which Mirio notices and acknowledges. "Stunned silent, huh? I don't blame you after all that's going on. You must be seriously confused. Heck, I don't even know why I'm here. Sir just told me to come to the hospital to meet All Might, and when we got here, I was introduced to that old guy over there." Mirio points to the older pro as he continues on. "He goes by Gran Torino and was apparently a teacher at UA when All Might was our age. How cool is that? In response, Izuku looks over at Gran Torino in amazement, though this knowledge gives him more questions to ask. But before he can, Gran Torino walks up to the two students and states,
So you're Izuku Midoriya that Toshinori kept talking about. I'd say it's a pleasure, but given the situation and the fact that you've been given about as much information as Trogita, I assume you're quite lost.
Ryu shakes his head in agreement, so Gran Torino retorts,
I figured. I won't lie to the both of you. What you're going to hear today will be a lot to take in, but no matter what either of you choose, this must stay a secret, understood?
Mirio and Izuku both look at each other before staring back at the old pro, giving affirmative nods, making Gran Torino smile as he opens the door to All Might's room, where he ushers everyone in. Upon entering the room, Mirio and Ryu come face to face with a grievously debilitated version of what used to be the number one hero. Seeing for the first time just how serious All Might's condition truly is, as Izuku stares at the clutter of medical devices attached to a heavily bandaged and burnt All Might, lying still in the hospital bed. It causes his heart to sink while a rush of thoughts scrambled around in his head, leaving Ryu to stand in the middle of the room, motionless. For a moment, no one else seemed to move a muscle as they take in the awful sight. But then All Might stirs awake, noticing the group when he does, and motions for them to his bedside. When this happens, Izuku's stupor breaks as he runs over to his idol and grabs his weak hand, where he begins to weep, sorrowfully stuttering out, "Oh, All Might, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I couldn't control my quirk good enough, and because of that, you're..." Ryu tries to continue to speak, but is unable to as his crying grows more intense, though most everyone is remaining quiet during this when All Might speaks up in a weak voice. I had a feeling this would be your reaction. But please, Midori, don't blame yourself. This was inevitable. I was already dying long before the USJ, and to be frank, I was probably going to die to that Nomu. My strength was already giving out with the amount of hits that thing got in. All Might tries to say more when he starts having a coughing fit, which cues Gran Torino to walk up sternly, stating,
You're in no condition to dilly-dally, Toshinori. I know you don't want him to feel guilty, but you can't waste any more time.
After saying this, the old pro looks down, getting All Might to understand that he needs to tell them now. So he says, Look, I know you two are confused and have a lot of questions. Not to mention the guilt that you feel, young Midoriya. But there's something important I must say first, along with a gift to give. And while this will sound outlandish, remember that everything is the truth. Both Mirio and Ryu give concerned yet confused looks at All Might in response, but remain quiet to let him continue. All right then. First, I must tell you that I was born without any kind of quirk. The power that I currently possess is named One for All, and has been passed down from person to person until it was gifted to me. This statement surprises the two students, though, as they both process this information. All Might wastes no time in beginning to explain his power, including its origins. One for All is a power that has been cultivated by each of the previous holders as it's passed on, making it stronger for each new person. It is a sacred torch and great crystallization of power, used for the purpose of helping all those in need, though its origin was nowhere near as righteous. Toshinori proceeds to tell Izuku and Mirio about the villain, All for One, how he created One for All, and the immensely powerful quirk that he possesses. After these revelations are properly shifted through in his mind, Izuku questions if All for One is the reason why the normal creature at the USJ had two quirks, which All Might confirms is most likely the case, leaving Ryu back in his stunned silence. When about a minute passes, Mirio breaks his pondering and asks, So why are you telling us all of this? I kinda get maybe why'd you tell Izuku here. Togata pats Midori on the shoulder, then points to himself as he says, But why are you telling me? Is it because you're wanting to pass on that quirk of yours to one of us? Because if so, then I'd have to turn down that offer. Thanks, though. Hearing this confuses All Might, Sir Night-Eye, and Gran Torino for one reason, while Izuku is bewildered for another. But Toshinori replies with an impressed look on his face. Well, your guess is spot on. I asked for you both here to give you my quirk, and make one of you my successor. However, Tokita, I'll admit, you were the secondary choice in case Midoriya here rejected the offer. Mirio gives a cheerful smile at this, but Izuku, on the other hand, is stunned at All Might's words. Then Toshinori curiously asks Mirio why he would refuse to take one for all, which the young man answers. Because I've always wanted to be a great hero with my own quirk. Don't get me wrong, I'm honored, but I don't need or really want it. I just don't think it would suit me, you know? Plus, I think someone else here needs to inherit more than I do. Mirio gives another smile, sitting down in a chair as the frail number one hero turns his head to look at Izuku, inquiring. Young Midoriya, I couldn't begin to imagine what thoughts are going through your head right now. And I regret that we're even discussing this under such circumstances, but I hope that you... However, before All Might can finish his question, Ryu interjects, letting out all of his pent-up feelings out as he uneasily speaks. But why? How could you ever consider me worthy of being your successor? I failed to control my quirk. I hurt you, and because this... Izuku begins to cry, making it harder for him to talk, but eventually finds his voice again and proceeds on. You encouraged me and inspired me to work harder on controlling my power, and had faith in me to become a hero, but I can't. I won't ever be able to help people. Not with my damn flames. I don't have a future as any kind of hero. The green-haired student then stares down at the floor, remaining quiet while he continues to weep. Once a moment passes, Toshinori places his hand on Ryu's and states, Young Midoriya, I understand your feelings about your quirk, but despite what you said, you've gained an incredible amount of control, though you still have a ways to go. Izuku looks back up, shaking his head, ready to reply, but All Might speaks first. However, your power isn't the reason why I want to pass one for all onto you. It's because you remind me so much of myself back when I was younger. All I ever wanted to do was help people and do good, just like you do. I can clearly see that you too have the true heart and spirit of a hero. I can't imagine a better choice who is worthy of being my successor. Ryu clenches his hand and somberly asks how he could even come anywhere close to being a great hero, to which Toshinori responds, Well, that's simple. Through hard work, even with All for One, I had to put effort into becoming the number one hero, and you'll need to do the same. Yes, you've hit a major bump in the path of becoming a hero, but you can't let it knock you off this path completely. It won't be easy. It never is, but you and your classmates now realize how much effort you'll need to put in to improve so you can stop villains and save lives. All Might raises up his weak hand, giving Ryu a thumbs up and a confident smile as he continues. Trust me, Izuku. You have the potential to become an even greater symbol of peace than I ever was. If you can push on past this point, then there's no doubt in my mind that the light of your flames will act as a shining beacon of hope for everyone who sees it, with or without one for all. Midoriya, upon hearing Toshinori's words, thinks back on everything, from those who belittled him and to those who encouraged him, leading all the way back to why he wanted to be a hero. After some thought, he wipes away his tears, regaining his composure as he calmly speaks. Thank you, All Might, for believing in me. Even though I don't deserve it, I'd be honored to inherit your quirk. You have my word. I'll stop moping around and work hard to be a better hero than you. This makes Toshinori smile joyously as he takes one of the few remaining strands of hair from the top of his head and hands it to Izuku while responding proudly. I know you will. Now I wish I had more time to explain more for all in more detail. But luckily you'll have my old friend, Sir Night-Eye, and Grad Torino, a friend of my master, to guide you along in my absence. At this point, Toshinori starts coughing profusely for a brief moment, though once it subsides, he then directs Ryu to eat the strain of hair, which the young hero in training reluctantly does. A few moments pass with Izuku waiting to see if anything happens when All Might grabs his hand and sincerely states, "Thank you, young Midoriya. I know you will do great things. Thank you for giving me peace of mind." As this is said, Toshinori breathing ceases, with his body going still as the heart monitor goes flat. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that itssslittt has many other channels for entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of itssslittt, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye, and have a divine day.